I was listening to a few of my older episodes recently, just to kind of go over to see if I still liked them, still liked the way they sound. And one of the big mistakes that I realized I'd made was having the gain set too high on my microphone. And thinking about that, I also kind of realized this is kind of why people get intimidated by audio. This is why people, when they make content, they get intimidated by things like an analog setup, an XLR setup, because there's all these different things that you have to have, all these different settings. I have no idea where to start. Where do I go from it? And there's also a big issue with price when it comes to that with people. It's so expensive. So what do? They opt out for something simple like this, or even this, which are basically USB microphones or a headset, because it's easier, it's convenient, it's literally just plug and play. I don't have to worry about anything. But here's the reality. Tonight I'm going to show you how you can actually get pretty much the same, like nicer quality, more control, and basically a lot more options and a variety of ways to go at, rather than buying an XLR rather than buying a USB microphone. You can take that money and you can still buy an XLR setup. I'm going to show you how you can do that tonight. And maybe we'll talk a little bit more about how some of this stuff actually works. So let's get over that. I mean, this is it. I just stop buying USB microphones. Okay, you can get the same quality and better out of an XLR setup. So let's get started with the show. This is just another Neckbeards. I'm Chris. This is just another Neckbeards podcast. Okay, welcome back again, everybody. Bad intro aside, I understand that this is the 8th time I'm doing it. You think I would have actually gotten a complete one down by now, but I can't. For some reason, when it comes to doing this particular episode, because I've wanted to do this episode since I started the show. This is going to be one of the first 3 episodes I did. And then I kind of stopped because I realized I was like, I'm doing a lot of self-help stuff. I really shouldn't just do that. I kind of pushed it off. But this is like the 8th time I'm trying to do this show, and it's every time I try to do it, I just stutter. I get like lost, and it's all over the place. This is just going to be a really short one today. Okay, I'm not going to waste all your time for a whole hour talking about different microphones and stuff like that. I'm just going to kind of go over it really quickly on what is essentially kind of the reason why I don't think you should buy things like these anymore. This particular microphone right here, this is a Blue Snowball. This is the first like USB microphone I bought, other than this headset. I've had this headset since like college, but I've had this for a few years now. Since like 2017, 2016 almost. Ever since I've had my capture card that I barely ever use anymore. I mean, I have a lot of stuff that I bought and I essentially get no use out of it. Cool. The cable just fell out. So cool. Good quality craftsmanship on that. Actually, the reality is the cable they give you is just really short on these things. It sucks. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about a lot that and like how the quality difference between a lot of these equipment actually is, because I'm going to give you a live demonstration on how that stuff works, especially when it comes to things like these. You should never use a headset microphone for any content creation at all. This is like, if you're wanting to create stuff, or you're really just like, if you're just playing a game and you're just trying to like talk to people online, this is fine. This is like a $20 headset. It's perfectly fine. Don't ever use it to make content, though, and I'll show you that in a second. Why? Because the quality on the microphone is poo-poo. So a lot of people think that, okay, they either usually start with stuff like this, or they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I'll just get that. Or the reality, because they see like a USB microphone, and it's like, this is a particular one's like $50, or I could buy a $20 headset, and I can do just fine with that. So a lot of people don't want to buy that because price is a big factor when it comes into a lot of this stuff, especially when it comes to an XLR setup, because there's all these other things that you have to do. They look at this, they look at somebody's interface setup, and they see all these cables and wires coming out of it, and they get really intimidated by that and not sure what to do. So they just kind of like, well, this only has one cable, and then I'm good, I'm set. So they try to maybe opt in for that instead because, well, I heard a lot of people use USB microphones, especially when it comes to live streaming, like with Twitch and Mixer and things like that, because it's easier and it's literally just plug and play. I see why people are attracted by that. But the reality is that you can get basically the same quality or better out of a simple interface for basically the same price, especially when it comes up to the higher end USB microphones. Like, of all the USB microphones, I would say the best one is probably the Yeti. The Yeti is used a lot by everybody for a reason. In fact, I'm even going to go ahead and bring it up over here just so you can see it. As you can see, I've actually been working pretty hard on getting some more art. I'm pretty proud of it. But the Yeti is basically I would say that should be the industry standard when it comes to USB microphones. Let's see here. As you can see right here, $108, $119, and you get a game. But I mean, that's pretty pricey, right? Not as pricey as something like this, because when people go and look for audio interfaces, they go up and they look at this price and they see, what is this? Hold on, I got all this stuff in my way. What do we have here? $149 just for the interface. That's not even the microphone. $99, $88.75. $58. That one's not that bad. But, you have all these different varieties, all these different options. Look at all these settings, these buttons, these dials, these inputs. What does any of it even mean? $298 for one? Wow, that's really expensive. I don't think I could afford that. People get really intimidated by that, and I don't blame them. So they just opt in for something like this because it's simple and easy for them. But you're sacrificing, when it comes to buying something like this, you're kind of sacrificing quality over convenience is what the reality of it is. And the thing with these as well, the thing with USB microphones is because they're so plug and play, because it has the conversion built right into it. It has all that stuff. You'd think that the whole unit itself would more or less sound the same on each system. It doesn't. So I had a laptop that I originally started with on a show, or that I started doing content with and things like that, and it sounded fine. It sounded fine on that computer. I mean, again, as fine as a USB microphone will sound, it's perfectly usable. You can use it. There's a particular problem I have with this when we start talking about the specifics of this microphone, but I plug it into my new computer and it sounds worse. It doesn't sound as good, and I don't know. I didn't know. So I looked it up. I researched why it's like that, and it turns out that USB microphones are very dependent on your own computer's hardware. And because no two computers are built the same, they all have different hardware, different parts that they use, all that thing. You don't really get the same quality out of your audio. So I couldn't take this and get the same. Again, quality. I've said quality like 50 times now. You won't get the same out of this microphone plugging into a different computer as the one that you normally use. So the convenience of being able to plug it in anywhere that you go is kind of null and void when you don't get the same consistency out of it. Whereas with this audio interface I have right here, because it does all the process, and all it does is it just transfers the signal back into the computer to be read. It does all the conversion all right there on the interface. The quality is going to be the same no matter where I take it. So, and that's a huge benefit, because the reality is it's not that hard to take this thing around with you. Yeah, you have to carry around a lot more, but it runs on USB just like anything else, so I could plug it into a laptop. All I have to do is I just have a couple extra cables that I need to do in the box, but as long as I'm not fiddling around too much with it, I will get the same quality no matter where I go with it. There's also the benefit of, if I like this particular microphone and I wanted to take it, okay, this is like really future prepping this, but say if I went to a convention and I had a panel or something like that, like if I would ever have a following that big, I would love to do that. And in fact, there is something that I would like to say about it in a little bit, but if I'd ever taken it with me on the road, and I like the way I sound out of this microphone, I can just take the microphone with me and go where I'm going. And as long as if they have the same setup there for me, then sweet. All I gotta do is unplug a cable, take the microphone with me, and then there we go. I can just plug it in there when I get there. Because the reality is pretty much every live setting uses an XLR setup. So if you ever go to a live setting or anything like that, they're gonna have a setup like this. So if you like your microphone, you can take it with you. I should get this out of here so you guys can see my new art that I've been working on really hard with. I like this one. There's a few others that you'll see in particular that I think are really cool that I worked really hard on. Again, so the reality is you're not getting a lot of you're not really getting a lot of quality out of this compared to this. But again, people get really intimidated by the price and say, well, this is a little more than I can afford. You probably can. So the way I say it is the industry standard is the Yeti. The Yeti, again, this cable keeps falling out. I don't know why. I say that the Yeti should be the industry standard for USB microphones because it has it has two very important features that a lot of companies don't really put in their XLR setups. So the Yeti has I obviously don't have one for example's sake, but I can show you on the screen what it really looks like. So why don't we just click on the 108 one because that is probably the one that you would want to buy. So $108, you get the Yeti. One important thing that you have right here is the volume dial. Now that's for the headset, on the that you can listen to live on it. Now that is a very important feature. So being able to listen to yourself live while you talk is very, very important to me because if you can hear yourself live, you know how all the levels sound. You sound clear. You can hear what you're saying. You make sure that you're kind of you can monitor how you sound so you can adjust it on the fly if you need it. Not a lot of people really need that. I mean, especially depending on the situation that you're in, it's not really something necessary. But something particular that I like to do, especially since I'm doing a show that's kind of centered mostly around my voice, I like to do that. So I like to make sure all the audio levels sound good. I can monitor it live. And the Yeti has that. You can just plug any XLR, any 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. You can just plug it in, and you can listen to yourself live on the microphone. Another important feature, which they don't really have the picture for it shown there, which I'm a little disappointed about, because one of the more important features about the Yeti that I think is good is that you can adjust the gain on it. Let me see if this one has more pictures. Okay, so this one has more pictures that I can show you. So right here, you can see it right here on the back. If it would, why isn't it not, okay, now it's doing it on there, but it won't do it on this one. That's weird. Well, anyway, you can see right here, let's see, what is it, control wheel? Yeah, there we go. You can see right here on the microphone on the back, you have these different settings. So you have different settings to adjust how you want the microphone's capsule to take in the sound, which could be omnidirectional, which is basically all around the microphone, cardioid, which is just in front of the microphone, stereo, which does front and back of it, or, and so forth. But there's another important knob right above it, and that's the gain knob. And what's important about gain, because as I was just saying, gain kind of controls how much how much power is being sent into the mic to pick up, or how much it boosts the signal that it's picking up. And if you have the gain set too high, you tend up picking up a lot of unnecessary things you want. Kind of like the ASMR videos. And in fact, I'm going to give you an example. I'm not going to adjust the setting on this one, but here's my alternate microphone. This is a very cheap microphone called the newer NW700. Not that big of a fan of it. I kind of bought it as a backup in case I ever had a live guest here. But turns out one important thing about when it comes to buying cables and stuff like that, especially with XLR, don't buy short cables. This is literally the length of the cable. I'm pulling on it. This is as far as it'll go. It's about 6 to 5 feet. That was actually, I don't even think it's 6 feet. I think it's like 4. It's very short. This was a mistake. One mistake when it comes to ever buying cables. Don't buy short ones. Buy long cables, because trust me, I mean, the price isn't that big of a difference, and you're really like, you can always just zip tie them together if you need. Like, you roll them up and you zip tie them to the length that you need. But if you ever want to go further away from it, if you ever want to go further away with this mic or with this cable, I kind of have to buy a whole new cable, which sucks. So don't buy short cables. Anyway, one of the things that happens when you turn the gain up too high, and this is a big problem I see with a lot of people, and I do have a hard limiter set on. You're going to start hearing me on this other mic, by the way, so I'm going to probably move this one out of the way. But one of the things that happens when you set the gain too high is, yeah, you can hear it right now. This is really bad, like insanely bad. You can hear the entirety of everything in the room right now. You can hear the fan on my computer running. I sound like dirt, and this microphone kind of sounds like dirt. This is what a lot of people do, because listen to how much the signal picks up. Just rubbing my hands together like that, and you can hear every piece of like grain on my fingers being rubbed. Like, and that's where the whole ASMR videos come in, which is really, really weird. All right, I'm gonna turn that off before I really start to annoy people. But you can see what the problem. That's a big problem I see people, is they have the gain set way too high. That was maximum gain, by the way. You should never have it at maximum gain. Especially with cardioid mics, because these are both cardioid mics, which basically just means that they are very sensitive and they require external power, which my interface does provide. A lot of interfaces do provide phantom power if you look at them. And if you use a setup like this, especially the one I got actually even came with a microphone. Some of my interfaces even come with cables and microphones, so it's just a one-time buy and you're good to go. Again, a lot of people get intimidated by the price, but the industry standard that I think you should have right there, which for USB has a knob that you can dial the gain at, so you can kind of like set it perfectly. Now, you can kind of do that internally with a computer, but again, that doesn't actually adjust anything. That just adjusts how much signal is being read in by the computer. It doesn't really adjust any of the settings on the actual microphone, which is a big problem with them. That's why I think you should have something like that to be able to adjust it on the fly as you need it, because you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to adjust it. Now, another thing that these things do, like I said, you can't monitor them live. So if you want to monitor them, you can monitor them through, especially since I use OBS. You can monitor them through, there's this feature to, like, you can listen back to your own audio, but there's a delay. And when there's a delay, it causes you to slow down and slur your words. So just to give you an example, I'm going to switch over to this microphone, the Blue Snowball, and you'll actually immediately hear the quality difference in them. This is with not me adding, like, you can make these sound good. You have to do a lot of work to do it, especially live. I'll turn those filters on. The only thing I have on right now is a hard limiter because I don't want to break the signal at all. But here's what you'll sound like. So right now, okay, because I'll turn on the desktop for a brief moment. You can hear my voice coming through twice. Oh man. I have to take off my headphones just so I can sound normal. Because the signal goes through twice, and or not really twice, but you can hear yourself delayed. So when you do that, it causes you to kind of like stutter and slow down, and not really get things out clearly because you stutter. Because what it is, it's a natural reaction. You say something, and when you hear something back at you, you immediately want to like focus on what you're hearing, so it causes you to stop. Now, as you can see here right now, this microphone itself picks up a lot more around the area. This microphone picks up a lot more. I really can't. I really want to be able to hear it, but I can't. It's just too much. It picks up a lot more around it. Now, this particular model, The blue Snowball Ice is only about like $50. This is $50. They do have another model that's like more expensive, but it just has a switch to like adjust the signal like a little bit, not too much. Again, this is a cardioid pattern, so it really only wants to pick up in front of it, but it actually does kind of pick up some in the back as well. But I do have, so what I have here on OBS is I actually think I can bring it over filters. So you can add filters on OBS, and I'll let you see what that looks like. So you can add these filters onto OBS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the noise gate, which basically the noise gate stops the signal from, if it has to go over a certain threshold in order for the signal to actually be processed. So I'm going to stop talking, and you can see it goes dead silent. Rather, when I have it off, you can kind of hear some humming going on. Now, the other one I have on here is a compressor, and the compressor just helps keep a lot of the levels not too crazy. Like if you're too quiet, it kind of helps normalize a lot of it so you're not too loud and you're not too quiet. It kind of like keeps it consistent. But I'm not a big fan of it because compressors also kill a lot of the quality that you get out of a microphone. As you can see, it sounds a little better though. Like it doesn't sound as bad now. Again, you can get a lot of nice quality out of these microphones, but I'm going to switch back to my regular one. But you can see where a lot of that issue comes in. This isn't, it's not as clear of a signal. It's not, I mean, it picks up a lot more around me. There's way more there's way more of a difference in quality the closer and further you get from it. Whereas if I take this one further away, you basically just can't hear me at all anyway. But you can still kind of, if I had the mic, like you can hear the mic right now. You can hear me right now on the mic, and you can hear just some, like this isn't that far of a difference or distance. See this, I'm stuttering now because God, I can't help it. But you can hear how being not that far away, just sitting on my desk, how big of a difference it makes having your mouth closer to the mic compared otherwise. You just get a lot clearer out of it. But this one essentially still picks up my voice. Now I'm gonna set this one the same distance away. All right, it's the same distance away, and I'm gonna turn this one. Now you can't hear me. If you can hear me, you can barely hear me at all, right? You probably can't hear me at all. I mean, you really probably couldn't hear me at all there, right? Because I have it more. This is a more of a more tuned in microphone for what it's meant to do. This is just kind of like a general mic to do like normal things that you'd want to do on a computer. It's just a regular microphone. This is more of a centered microphone for more, I guess higher quality audio. I really am trying not to harp too much on USB mics, but I mean, the reality is we'll get into some of the pricing schematics in a second. I'm really not trying to let this one run too long, but I'm already at 20 minutes, so I'm going to kind of speed things up. So here's the headset microphone, and I just want to give you a big difference. Now this one actually is plugged in through USB because when I bought it, it has like its own like little like miniature sound card that you can plug in to USB and then plug the plugs in, and it actually helps the signal a lot, like a lot. I'm going to show you the difference between that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this one off, and I'm going to turn the headset. Okay. I'm going to turn the headset one on. This one sounds really bad, right? It's very grainy. It's very high-end tinny. It's not very good at all. It's very poor. I used this one for a little bit, but this is essentially if you were to listen to like Xbox Live microphones, basically. It's the same kind of quality. It's not meant for high quality audio. It's meant for just generic whatever you're doing stuff, kind of like what some of these are built for. They're not really built for like super high quality stuff. They're just built for whatever daily use you have for it, whether that be talking to somebody or just communicating through a game. Again, you can make these sound okay. I do have some filters that I wanted to turn on for this one. It's more or less the same one. I had a simple gain one to like reduce the gain on the microphone to kind of help it a bit, but now I turned all the filters on, and you can hear it's a little better. It's not horrible. It's not as bad, but you can hear that it's definitely a difference. It's a difference that you can kind of work with in certain situations, but it's not perfect. This is something that maybe you wanted to try and you weren't sure you wanted to get into it. You could definitely start with this, much like a USB microphone, but you're not gonna make a whole life out of it. You're not gonna make a whole you're not going to be able to make an insane, high quality content with something like that. Again, that's very cheap. That's a $20 mic. And I'm just going to unplug it. You can see right here, it came with its own little miniature sound card. However, you can plug this in 3.5 millimeter. And I will show you the difference. Why you should probably never use a 3.5 millimeter connection. So this one's going to sound really bad, but I do have to adjust the settings on the fly for it. So give me a second while I fix that. There it is. Apply. Okay. Now all the filters should stay the same. But again, I'm sorry. This is really going to blow your ears out. Let me turn all of those off and keep the limiter on. Okay. Sorry. So, as you can see here, there's a constant ringing in your ear right now. And that's basically, I don't know if that's because of the cable itself or just that's how the microphone sounds like this. Again, this is going to be the worst quality one that you should never do. Never do anything like this. So I'm going to turn all of the filters back on, but even with all the filters that I have on it, it still has that constant ring background. Don't use that. Don't use these at all. You should never use these. So this is oh man, I'm broke and I have no other options. Maybe don't look into this. Now coming off that, let's look into some actual equipment that you could buy. So that's $20 bottom of the barrel. I don't have a lot of money. I'm just trying to try something out. Maybe try that. Okay. You obviously use the sound. If you try to find one with one of these little sound card pluggers that you can get, and you might be able to work with that. If it's only 3.5 millimeter, just don't, you won't be able to get anything out of that. That's almost unbearable audio. And I really want to stress that it's unbearable. Now, you might want to think that, for $30 more, I can get this, right? And it's okay. It's not horrible. It's decent. I can kind of use it, right? Not exactly, because I'm going to go show you some other equipment that you probably would want to use along with it, like an arm, because you want to get it close to your face. Here's another thing. It's just windscreens, or another thing people like to use, which is a pop filter, which is a lot more or less the same thing. The reason I don't use I use a windscreen over a pop filter is because, I mean, do you really want to watch a whole video where a guy I look like the neighbor from, Home Improvement right now. Howdy ho, neighborino. You want to listen to my podcast? I mean, really, you don't. The reason I switched is because I wanted you to be able to see me. I don't want you to. Howdy ho, neighborino. I mean, you can use that with these, but obviously there's no windscreen you'd have to use a pop filter for something like this. Otherwise, you're going to get too many plosives out of it. I have a ton of those, by the way, because a lot of the times when you buy equipment, they just give them to you for free. I had one that broke, and I bought a new one, and then I had gotten another one with a set, and then I got another one. So it's just, you get some of that stuff really free, or easily for free sometimes. So you might want to invest in something like that. Well, you'd think that maybe I could try something different, let me look into some nice USB microphones. Let me show you something that you could actually get. So all the quality and things like that, I've shown you how to do that. You can get some nice quality out of a USB microphone with some effort. However, let's say you wanted to just get the industry standard, like I said, for $108, or what the other one was showing, which I think was like $140, which I don't pay that much. Most of the time it goes for around $120 for a Blue Yeti. So for $120, let's look at what you could really get for an XLR setup that's more or less the same. So let's zoom out. Go back to 100%. Okay, so we're back at 100%. So the Focusrite has their Focusrite is kind of like the most high quality ones that a lot of people say you can get. Focusrite makes really good preamps on their stuff, which basically is the preamp is what helps boost your gain, boost your signal, and keeps it clean. Focusrite is known for having very good preamps on their interfaces. However, you don't have to get you don't have to get the top of the line one. Again, you just want to get something that can work for you. Another good alternative that a lot of people like right here is this Behringer audio interface, UMC22. I've seen a lot of people review this because, again, when you're looking into audio equipment, one of the best resources you can do is just look up online. There's a particular YouTuber that I watched, especially when it came to researching some of the audio equipment I wanted to buy, called Podcastage. And he makes tons of interface reviews, microphone reviews, almost anything that's out there on the market right now. If you look up on Podcastage, he's probably reviewed it, and he can give you a very in-depth review and schematic or specs, what he feels about it, about the microphone, what kind of situations you might want to use for it. Has a ton of variety for that particular stuff. Again, he does not just expensive stuff. He does a lot of cheap budget stuff as well. So, and that's kind of where I invested in this little cheap backup microphone that I will show you, because this thing only cost me $20 and it came with a lot of stuff that I can kind of use. But you get all that stuff basically with it. Or I'm sorry, you get a lot of utility out of a show like that, and he can show you what, if you're interested in something, what kind of quality you can expect out of it. So here is the Behringer Audio UMC22. This is probably one that I would suggest that a lot of people, if you're wanting your first interface, this is probably a good cheap one that you'd want to start with. This is a very known high quality one that a lot of people could get. Here is another one that I would suggest. Here's the Focusrite Solo, because again, my interface has 2 inputs. Not a lot of people need 2 inputs. You probably only need 1. Right? So you want to look at an interface that just has 1 input, and those are usually fairly affordable. So you get an interface, and then you got to look at a microphone, right? So let's just say you get the Behringer. So we'll bring it up, $58, okay? So we're already half of what our price is for the Yeti, and you have an audio interface. Well, now you need to look into an actual microphone. So let's bring up a microphone. So here we have a, where is it? Let's look at dynamic ones, because you're probably not going to treat your room. Again, I haven't treated my room. I need to put up some more sound foam, but that's beside the point. Now here we have some cheap dynamic microphones right here. Here is another standard that people might use, a Shure SM48 for $40. Now that's a pretty good microphone. It's very comparable to the SM58, which is what a lot of people call the live scenario. SM58 is what a lot of people use on live venues. It's a very well-known microphone. It's basically the industry standard when it comes to dynamic microphones. And you could argue that this is basically a somewhat cheaper version. It's not as high quality, but it's very high up. It's up there. It's not that far behind it. For $40, because the SM58 is $100. If you're looking for a budget, the SM58 is probably not what you're looking at, and especially not the SM7B. That is what high-end people use. I don't know what happened, but the SM7B is what everybody uses now. A lot of famous podcasters use it. A lot like Joe Rogan. Some live streamers are starting to switch over to it, and I have no reason why, because in reality is you're basically buying a $400 microphone that you need to buy extra equipment for, because a lot of people complain that the the signal that the SM7B outputs isn't that high enough that you can actually even hear it. So you need to buy another piece of equipment to boost that signal, a cloud lifter, which could set you back another $40 on it. So you're essentially buying a $440 mic that, you know, you might not even like. A lot of people say it sounds good, but it also like it makes them sound a little deeper, a lot more bassy, but you can get that same effect out of almost any microphone out there. So it is high quality, but a lot of people use it because a lot of famous people use it, like Joe Rogan. Again, I'm bringing up the same person again, but you'll see I've seen a lot of other broadcasters start switching over to this microphone, and I have no idea why. I mean, again, I'm not trying to rip on the mic. I think it's a fine mic. It obviously has its people that want to use it, but again, it's not. You don't need a $400 microphone. Okay, this is the microphone that came with my interface, and in reality, it's probably about a $30-$40 microphone. That if you try to buy it separately, because a lot of people sell it for around $40 to $50. And it sounds perfectly fine. I think this is probably the best sounding microphone I've ever had in my life. Now, is this going to be the last microphone I get? Probably not. I mean, I'm obviously going to try to get some other stuff. I want to get a couple dynamic microphones so I can do live, because I want to do live on the scene stuff that I'm going to be doing later. There's a lot of other stuff I want to get that takes time, money, and this is why people get intimidated by this stuff. And they see it and all they see is dollar signs. Don't buy that, okay? That is a way too expensive of a microphone. But here's another one, Audio-Technica 2005. That's a pretty good one. But again, that's $80. We're trying to avoid the super expensive stuff. But you can get, there was one in particular that was going for a while, which was a Behringer. That was $20. There's a toner one that some people use. Let's see. But I mean, again, a lot of these like cheap dynamic microphones are probably not going to be what you're wanting to look into, because you probably want to look into something that's condenser, because a condenser is a much more sensitive microphone and you can get a lot of different quality out of it. You can get different, sounding effects out of it. So, or, you can get a much cleaner signal out of an okay one. So a condenser microphone is basically what I've been talking about. Here's the example of a cheap condenser microphone. This is the newer NW700. Again, I'm actually going to go ahead and bring it up really quick because let me see if I can find it. Newer NW700, and here we go. Right here, $31. You get the whole kit. Well, it's a toner one. Do they even have the newer one anymore? Probably not. Here's one that actually comes with an interface that you could use. Now, I'm not really sure on the quality of the actual interface. Again, you could probably find a review for it, but $42 and you get a microphone, an interface, and all the cables that you need for it, right? So you could definitely use that if you really wanted to. Again, I probably wouldn't suggest that. That's probably not one I would suggest buying, but I mean, you get that for $40. You could probably use that if that's what you needed, if that's what you were looking for. And then you have an interface, you have a microphone. You can, again, you're going to see in a minute, you're going to have to do a lot of adjustments for a microphone that's cheap. You get what you pay for when it comes to audio equipment. In reality, it's true. You really get what your money is worth when it comes to that stuff. But there is anything over $100, you start to see like diminishing returns on that. I would say like a minimum $100 on a very good microphone. So again, that's not really if you're really on a budget, that's not really what you're going to be looking at. You're going to be looking at the cheap stuff. So this is a cheap one. So I'm just going to go ahead and switch over to this mic so you can hear what it sounds like. All right. Now, you can already hear right away that there is some grain coming through. That's a product of the microphone. That's what the microphone does. You can adjust. Again, I have the gain set up really high on this. So I'm going to turn the gain to what is essentially the same thing that I've had. But you can hear it's very tinny. It sounds like I'm talking into a tin can. And that's just a product of the microphone. It's a cheap microphone. I bought this on sale for $20. It came with all this other extra stuff like an arm. You'd want to get an arm, by the way. Like, you really want to get an arm or like a stand, something that you can adjust and move the mic closer to your face that you don't really have to essentially hold all the time, because as you can hear, this one doesn't really handle me touching it very well as much as that one. This one you really don't want to touch. Shock mount isn't really that necessary unless you're going to be like doing a Sir Palo video, or you're just like banging on the video or banging on your desk all the time or anything like that. You don't need that. Especially when it's on a stand like this where it kind of is stable already. This is more or less to help. They want you to have a shock mount to reduce the amount of sound that travels through, because vibrations travel from the desk through the arm and gets into the microphone. I don't really have that issue too much, so I don't know. It depends on a lot of different things. But again, this is a cheap microphone, and it sounds okay. Like, honestly, it sounds worse than the Blue Snowball. To be honest, it really does sound worse than the Blue Snowball. But you can adjust it. You can do things on the fly, and then later, all you have to do is if you wanted to get a different microphone, all you have to do is you just buy a new microphone. You don't have to buy an entire new setup. Where if you were to replace a USB microphone, you're basically just essentially replacing an entire setup, because there's a lot of things small things that you can do to change things out on this, and you can plug anything into it. If you wanted to buy an extra microphone, guess what? You have two now, and if you have an interface like me that has two inputs, you can have a guest, or you can do something else with it. You can be more creative with it. Again, I'm going to stop using this one because I don't like the way it sounds. It sounds very poor. But you get what I'm saying. You get what you pay for. Here's let's see, can we get here's a newer NW800 that's kind of like the new up and coming standard one that's $20 right now. You can find a lot of this stuff on sale, by the way, usually. But let's go back to regular condenser microphones and see what we got. So here's an Audio-Technica AT2020. $100. That's probably that would be a good one if you're wanting to get something that you can start with, or you can upgrade to. That'd probably be one that you'd want to look at. Let's see here. I don't know why the Blue Snowball Ice is $48 right now, but again, so if we're $120 would be our budget limit, because I'm trying to go for what the Blue Yeti was. So you spend if we spent $60 on the interface, right? So we have around another $60 to spend on the microphone. So let's look for a $60 condenser microphone. Let's see here. This one might be okay. It's starting to push our budget a little bit. But there was one in particular I wanted to find. Where is it at? There was because I'm getting a lot of these Chinese ones that are really cheap. There was a Samsung one that I saw that I wanted to talk about, but I lost it. Where's it at? Behringer C1 is a pretty standard one as well. That one's, a lot of people praise that one, and that one's $48. So then you're already under budget for what you wanted to get. So you're at $100 now, or $108 now, and you've got a nice microphone, a nice interface, and all you really need to get is a cable, which cables are cheap. You can get those relatively cheap, and you're set to go. Let's see here. Again, condenser mics are usually a little bit more expensive, but you can get some pretty good ones. Again, you can get this one. In fact, you could buy even used equipment. So just to let's just go ahead and go over to eBay. Let's just go to eBay. And you could look up used equipment as well. So let's look up Focus, because there's a Focusrite 2i2. Let's look up the 2i2, the interface I use right now. If it would, that's right, Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. And see what people are charging for it. So here's a used one right here for $109. You get two inputs. and you're kind of pretty close on where your budget. Again, we're going to try and go for a $120 budget. Oh, here we go. Pre-owned Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, $55. People are bidding on it. And, I mean, that would last you a while. You could get some pretty good use out of that. Let's look up a Rode NT1. See what people are selling for used on that. Yeah, that's a little too much. That's a little too much for us. Let's try the mic I use right now, CM25 mic. Phone. Because I had to look up the model number just to see what it was. So here, $60 pre-owned. Here's one for $45. And this is a pretty good sounding microphone. I like to think that this is a pretty good sounding microphone. So you could really kind of get the same setup. And even still on eBay, there's a lot. There's not eBay, but on Amazon they have listings for this stuff where it gives you a combo set of everything that you would need for relatively cheap. So let me try if I can find it. Focusrite Scarlett Solo. Here's the Solo starter pack. It's a little too much. Let's see. Here we go. Here's one for $178. You get headphones, the Scarlett Solo, and microphone, and some cables. Let's see. There's one that comes with a stand and some windscreens. Again, $109. That one just gives you the interface of the cable and a windscreen. So you still have to get a microphone. But again, $200. Here's one right here. Scarlett Solo 3rd generation audio interface comes with and this one looks like it comes with a dynamic microphone. So this might actually be the one that you would want to look at. Let's see. Comes with bundle with microphone, Knox Studio stand, pop filter, headphones, XLR cable. Let's see what kind of microphone it comes with. Comes with scissor arms, so that'd be something that you really want. This would actually probably be the set that you would want to look at. And let's see, where's the microphone at? Let's see, and also a lot of these Focusrite ones come with software. Here we go. Tascam TH3 closed black headphones. You'd want those. Let's see, Audio Technica Cardio Dynamic Vocal. It doesn't give the actual model number, but it gives you an Audio Technica one. I can tell right there. It's probably, actually it looks like the label there. It says Shure. Yeah, so it gives you a pretty good Audio Technica microphone that you'd really want to be able to use. I mean, this right here is probably what would be a good bundle for you to get if that was what you wanted to buy. And, for $30 more, you could probably scavenge $30 more rather than paying $120 for a Yeti. You could pay $159 or, $160, and you could get an entire setup that sounds pretty good. And you'll be able to adjust things, and you'll have an interface that you could probably use the rest of your life. You never need another one unless you wanted more inputs, because again, not a lot of people need more than one input. And you can adjust things. You can just change out a microphone later. If you don't like your microphone anymore, you can just change it out. You don't have to even worry about buying a new interface. You just buy a new microphone. So again, a lot of that stuff kind of is up to, it's really up to you on how you feel about that stuff. And it's just, a lot of that is really, again, I made a huge mistake with my audio and I'm trying to fix it. But I kind of wanted to showcase that, like, not a lot of people really need a USB microphone. This microphone in particular, I'm actually giving it away. I have a friend that is, I have no need for this microphone anymore. I have a friend that he wants to start doing live streams and stuff like that. And he currently uses the sin of using a headset microphone. And I said, do you want a USB microphone? I'm not going to use it anymore. I have no need for it. So I'm going to give it to him because I want him to have it. I have no use for it. I'm never going to use it again. So why do I need to keep it? Anyway, that's going to be it for today. I need to work on an outro for this because of that. But again, I already told you why. This is not a... this isn't going to be the only one I'm going to be doing today, by the way. I'm going to be probably recording another one that I'm going to upload this same week. And so I'm going to kind of double up this week because I really feel bad for being late last week. So I'm going to get this one out tonight, and then I'm going to probably try and get another one out later this week. Also because I want to create more content and I want to get more out to you faster because I actually really like doing this show. I really want to try to promote the growth of the channel more, and I feel like if I do more uploads, that might help it. I'm also thinking about doing some other segments, or not even really segments, other shows. Like I'm thinking about doing I'll tell you when it's ready. It's not ready yet, but again, that's going to be it for now. Thanks for joining me. Do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. I appreciate any of the feedback you guys give me, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks.